and I just hit the button anyway. So once again, 270 plus times, we're live.
270 evenings, and actually, I think it's more than that, but 270 that we've counted. We come here, we talk about things that are of importance to everybody out there in social media world, not
Mhm.
just Bossier, but across the state and arguably a little bit across the country. And here we are again tonight, going to talk about something that's important and not just here, but I would say across the country as well too.
Yeah, I would agree. Not all the time do we talk about stuff that is just hyper Bossier specific. So yeah, this whole election thing is vitally important, not just to Bossier, but everywhere else. But I got to tell you, we're going to do a little time traveling back in time when we do actually talk about some Bossier specific stuff. So it's going to be a little nostalgia time, Mr. Lowry. I have something that you may not have seen in a while.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. There's a lot of nostalgia. Some I'd like to forget, but there's some good memories. I mean, yeah, I can take a walk down memory lane. That'll work for me.
Yeah. So, and it's going to be a walk down memory lane while I am going to be making fun of somebody again. And I bet you can't guess who it will
Well,
be. Well,
does he walk on water?
no, I'm not going to do that one. That's your favorite little buddy there. This one is the one that loves to take selfies.
Oh, okay. Well, selfies is okay. But speaking of selfies, I mean, I was sitting here and I was perusing over the notes a little bit, and if you gloat a little bit, isn't that like taking a selfie? I mean, isn't it gloating if you take a selfie
Kind,
sometime?
kind of, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
mean, what
along the same vein.
what's this business of 46,000 versus 40? I see in the notes. I mean, is there a little bit of gloating going on here?
Well, yeah, look, you know me. I am actually a little conceited. I don't make any bones about it. I've been this way since I can remember. But yeah, so that exceedingly unfortunate video that Richard Ray blessed us with in his diatribe with Brian Hammonds is over 46,000 organic views. Now, folks, organic means we didn't pay to boost the post. It's just people liking and sharing. And you, Mr. Lowry, your little ice chase up there on Benton Road or whatever that was is over 40,000 views.
Yeah, I was just going to the farm and I just I mean, call me an ambulance chaser, whatever you want. I mean, man, look, there's sheriff's deputies everywhere and they're in the middle of a cotton field. I mean, what could be going on in a cotton field that you got 20 sheriff's deputies out there?
Yeah, no kidding. So we've had a couple of pieces of content that have done really well and gotten circulated around, and of course, it's thanks to everybody that likes and follows and comments, and whether you agree with us or not, whether you thought the ice raid up on Benton Road was cool or chasing the guy or whatever they were doing up there. Anyway, we appreciate all the commentary and all that. All right. So we've got a guest coming on here in just a few minutes. Shall we go ahead and do we want to do the countdown and then the intro, or just do the intro and get right back into it?
You pick the poison, and I am ready to do a little work on my
Uh,
screen over here.
if we keep skipping the countdown, I think Bal's going to get upset because he really likes a couple of your quotes in there. And, you and that mask and breathing like Darth Vader. It's
I,
always classic.
And we were right. We were ahead of our time. It's just like when we did the mail ballot. Remember that? Can you stuff a mail ballot? We proved it. We did it on video that you could stuff a mail ballot. And the same as that. I mean, did masks work in COVID? No, they didn't work. It was the
No.
stupidest thing there was. You
Yes,
know,
it was. But
that's what
all
that
right.
came from.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead. Let's do it. I'm going to hit the countdown. And of course, for those of you that might be new to the show, we're going to go away for about 2.5 minutes. We're going to have a countdown and a little intro. That gives you about 2.5 or 3 minutes for everybody to like, share, text your friends, tag your friends, whether you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, or Twitter. We're streaming on Twitter as well. And we will be right back. And we come back and we'll introduce our guest, bring him on, and let's roll with it. How about that, Mr. Lowry?
Sound like a plan. Let's go.
All right, let me see if I can hit the button and the countdown will begin.
Folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. You know, there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, you know, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
And aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Through conscious shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr. In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. You'd think I'd be smart, and those little comments that I put in the show to remind everybody, you know, that, hey, we do love comments even if you disagree. You'd think I'd be smart and type those up in a document so I could just copy and paste. But here I am burning up the keys to type this. I don't know what's up. What kind of tech guy am I?
I don't know. But you know what? Hey, we're winging it. We're doing the best that we can here, just trying to inform people and educate them on things. And hey, this is tonight's show. This is a subject that, you know, we covered, extensively in the past, especially like, I think, 2020 election going into 2024. Heck, we even covered it before then. And our guest that's going to come on, Randy Russ, tonight, I mean, was kind of out there, you know, on the front lines of this thing as well, too. You know, it was a contentious Secretary of State's race in Louisiana, and he was on one side of the equation, and I think that kind of groans on a little bit even still to this day. But I mean, have you Rex, recently, have you followed some of the stuff regarding election integrity and the voting stuff? And you followed anything?
I've just kind of watched the highlights and the headlines, so to speak, but I haven't been totally engrossed in it. So apparently I'm going to learn a little tonight.
Well, before we bring Randy in, let's set the stage here, kind of where we're at. So in the notes, you know, I've got a link in there, and let's go back to, you know, when Trump won, you know, this last election, and some of the comments that he made, you know, when he was basically saying, "Hey, I won," you know, I think it was at his place in Palm Beach or whatever, and he made some comments regarding elections. And let's play that real quick for everybody and set the stage.
All right, so I guess this will be, I hope I have the right video pulled up here. Is this one that you were talking about?
That's it.
All right, here we go.
I will immediately demand voter ID, same-day voting, and only paper ballots. Only paper ballots. I will.
All right.
That's pretty much it.
Now, I got to ask, so because I haven't kept up, is he living up to that promise?
Well, then we're going to kind of get there a little
Okay.
bit. I think, look, the guy's doing a ton of stuff on a ton of fronts, and I think even there's a lot of Democrats that they're liking what he's doing. They may not say it publicly, but I think they're loving what he's doing. But that was his position the night he recognized that he won the election. It was pretty clear cut right there what he was saying, right?
Yeah, he didn't make any bones about it.
All right. Well, let's fast forward a little bit, and I have another link in there. And, this is showing this past summer or this past fall or spring in the legislative session. And there were some comments from our Secretary of State right here that she was giving some testimony. So let's listen to what she had to say.
All right, here we go.
Everything that y'all have asked us to do at this point. And so, we've worked with Senator Hodges on some amendments, but I hear your concerns now about dual objects, so it might be safer just to remove us from the bill to not jeopardize the rest of her bill, because we don't think it's really necessary to have anything about elections in this bill. Her concern was with the executive order of the president, which was issued a few months ago or a few weeks ago. We've met with the White House twice now. Yesterday, in fact, I met with White House staff. I met with members of DOJ. I met with Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration. And I've also met with the Election Assistance Commission, which is also their orders in the executive order directed to that agency as well. So, and I have a letter actually from the Intergovernmental Office of the Trump administration saying this order is intended to complement and support your work to improve Louisiana's election system and processes by providing additional federal resources and coordination. They commended us for what we do here in Louisiana, and they encouraged us to proceed with our procurement and get a new system that allows us to have an auditable paper record. And
okay, hang on a second.
Just adding any more requirements or over.
All right.
So that's enough. You heard her mention that, they met with Trump and all the administration, and they're all on board with it. And, and that post right there, LeCag, you guys, if you want to go get the nuts and bolts of this thing, and Joe Hoft had an article on this, and that's where kind of this is being sourced from. LeCag and Joe Hoff did all the work here. But I think Joe Hoff got his hands on actually that IGA letter in Cut 26. I have the contents of that letter. Well, what they pointed out is the letter that she is citing in that testimony with the legislature, it wasn't even signed. And they even got a statement from the guy and that wrote the letter, and he was saying, no, we weren't saying that. Basically, he was saying that we weren't saying that we're rubber stamping you buying a whole new machine election system. The guy contradicted it. So, but yet she went out there in the legislative committee, and Randy may address this a little bit or want to, but I didn't want to bring him in on this because this is me saying all of this and putting this in here. But I think that seemed to be a little sleight of hand to me, because no, they were not saying that. And when they cite the presidential directive And if you go to that next link that I have in the notes, and I'm working you here, your tech skills, I'm putting you to the work. So Randy, take note. I'm working him.
Yeah, is this the preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, hold on. Let's go to that.
So
All right.
this is the actual executive order, and if you go down to the 8th paragraph in that, Rex,
Lord. One,
just count them from the top.
3, 4, 5.
Dude, you're impressive, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, read that 8th paragraph.
This above all.
Correct.
Okay. Above all, elections must be honest and worthy of the public trust. That requires voting methods that produce a voter verifiable paper record, allowing voters to efficiently check their votes to protect against fraud or mistake. Election integrity standards must be modified accordingly. It is the policy of my administration to enforce federal law and to protect the integrity of our election process.
There you go. Where did it say anything about a machine there? Did you hear? Did you hear that? I mean, I heard nothing but paper. That's consistent with what the man said the night he got elected. And then, I mean, look, go to cut 27. As recently as the last 30 days, I mean, he made another statement. I mean,
hold on a second. Let me get it up there. Let's see. Now, I will say he did in that that we were just reading from the White House, that executive order. It did say produce a paper record. I want to point that out. Words matter, as Richard Gray tells us. So
that's right. That's right.
Right.
But within the last 30 days, okay, here Donald Trump himself says, I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots. Obviously, that's a problem. Agreed. And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening and as to who won and who lost the election. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others give it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before. And he goes on rambling. But I think he made it pretty damn clear what he thought about machines. But if you think I'm done there, oh no, I'm not done there. I've got another link for you, Rex. Let's go to Tulsi Gabbard.
let's see. Is that the, hold on, hand market? Wait, now you've lost me in the links. Let me make sure I get the right one.
Just below cut 27.
Ooh, you added that one after I was through looking at the notes. So give me about 5 seconds here.
So you thought you was ready for me, and see, you're not ready for me.
I just thought I was.
Duke,
so
I'm not even ready for you, man.
He's killing me here.
I'm gonna, hey Rex, I'm gonna interview Duke. So
I am setting the stage for you boys.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we're just gonna bring you in anyway. All right, so here we go. You get to watch Tulsi too. This is 5 minutes 58 seconds. So just tell me when to stop, Duke.
In the cabinet meeting was early discovery that I had seen from a whistleblower who came forward, who was working under CISA at that time, which is responsible for critical infrastructure and trying to protect against cyber vulnerabilities, critical infrastructure, including, of course, the integrity of our election systems. And what was interesting was seeing how this whistleblower brought forward information that CISA at that time, the federal government, was aware of vulnerabilities in our election machines, but they chose not to disclose that information to the American people or to the administration at that time. This is an area, of course, of critical importance, once again, for the American people to have faith in the integrity of our elections and that it is their voice that is heard through these elections. We're continuing to investigate this, and when we have information that we're ready to release, you'll hear about it.
Okay, so we're going to be hearing more on the 2020.
That's it.
I like Benny. I watch Benny quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too. So there. I mean, she just dropped a bomb. They got whistleblowers coming in again, talking about the vulnerability of machines that she just acknowledged they've hid from the public. But yet somehow or another, here we are that we are now go to cut 25.
Killing me,
Sorry,
Smalls.
Randy, bear with me. I'm fixing to turn you loose on all of it, Randy.
All right, hold on. I got to get to, let's see.
I trained you well,
again.
dude.
All right, which
Yes,
cut?
sir.
Cut 25?
Yeah, given all of that, now Tulsi made that, within I think about the last 20 days. So here you have on August the 15th, our Nancy Landry decides they're going to go out and they're going to start showing to the public all the choices of these machines that you, the citizens of Louisiana, have the opportunity to view or do whatever. And which one do you like looking at better? But unless you're from North Louisiana, and if you're from North Louisiana and you're so inclined, you can spend 8 hours of your time every one of these days to drive down and see whether you like the looks of one over the other. Uh, you know, I'm sorry, but your penance is 8 hours of driving every day. And so much for inclusion, or North Louisiana being part of the state of Louisiana, and so much for transparency, because basically we don't get a shot at this. We don't even get to look at it.
I have so many comments for that, but I don't want to get ahead of us, so I'll reserve my comments for now.
So I'm a little peeved about that little part of it. So after given all of the recent events, what Tulsi Gabbard has said, what Trump has said within the most recent days, given the fact that IGA letter is questionable, thanks to Joe Hoff, here we are trudging forward to just spend as much freaking money. I mean, more money than was ever thought was going to be spent on all these stupid machines. And it begs the question, if we're going to consider a system, why are we not considering another system that doesn't include machines? And why are we not putting it up there in comparison from a dollar standpoint and from a standpoint of whether it works or not? Because they're certainly out there saying that, oh, we've got to change the system. And I would contend, yeah, I would agree with that. We probably do. But why are we not considering any system other than a machine system? Randy, maybe you know the answer to that, and maybe now's the time to drop you in the middle of this.
I might know the answer to that one. First off, Duke, you've done a great job of capturing the essentials, starting with the president's election. So I commend you for that. Let me also say that because of patriots like you guys, you mentioned LeCag, Chris Alexander, and Katie, and Joe Hoff, and also I have to say Candy Peavy and Adele Schifferman and Susan Barron's father, all of them. The patriots up in the northern part of our state have been critical to the work that we've done over these 5 years. And because of that, we now have a seat at the table at the highest levels of this administration. And I'm happy to report that. Of course, previously with Biden and that gang, all of us were being censored and all of that. So basically the conclusion that we have reached after 5 years is these election officials and state representatives and senators around the country, not just in Louisiana, are either incompetent, which we don't believe that so much anymore after watching them, or they're corrupt. I know that's hard to believe in Louisiana. Or they're compromised in some way. And we also have very credible evidence that some of them are being threatened to do the things that they're doing that don't make any sense at all. All we have asked, and I sent you a video of an alternative system earlier today, a hand count system. All we have asked is look at what we're doing, along with patriots all around the country, to develop a hand count system that is transparent, it is reliable, it is accurate, and it is auditable. And we've been working on that since 2022. But what you get is mockingbird talking points. And we hear that from all of the clerks of court, the registrar of voters, and all the legislators. They have been given talking points, just like we see in the fake news, formerly known as the mainstream media. So these people, and I talk about it this way, a lot of people talk about the Bible and they talk about opinions about the Bible, but who has ever read the whole Bible from cover to cover multiple times? Same thing's true of hand counting. All of these elected officials, the clerks and the registrars, Nancy Landry and her staff, talk about hand count, but we have invited them to hand count demonstrations multiple times, and they never show up. We had one at the GOP this past summer in Lafayette. We had a whole demonstration, and the legislators would walk by the table and they would veer off so as not to see it. So we think that there is massive corruption, and I'll even make this statement. Just as we have found out that USAID was funding NGOs, that's now a fact, indisputable. We believe very strongly that USAID, and there's evidence to this publicly, that USAID has been funding Smartmatic voting machines and installing those all around the world. And we can give you the documents on that. I will even go further than that and say that it is highly likely that in the days to come, you're going to find out that these voting machine, quote, vendors are actually CIA cutouts. They're not real companies. We don't know who owns them. They're quote, owned by hedge funds, private equity hedge funds that don't have to disclose their ownership. Dominion is a Canadian-based company with operations and software operations in Serbia. I can give you the address and the location of that facility. So we think that Tulsi has a report that's due on September 21st that exposes all of this that's been going on. There's a Venezuelan component with Smartmatic. 4 Smartmatic executives, former executives, including the president, Roger Penate, are currently under indictment in the Southern District of Florida for bribery and money laundering related to, among other things,
Okay, Randy.
paying off politicians. Yeah, go ahead.
Randy.
You
Do
gonna
you
slow
see
me down?
do you see my hat?
I see it.
Now,
Tinfoil hat.
a lot of people say that people like what you're saying and people like me, that all this stuff we're talking about, that we're just tinfoil hat wearing people. I mean, why are they wrong?
Why are they wrong? Well, why was USAID shut down? Why were the NGOs related to USAID cut off? Why did the president just say all NGOs who receive federal funding will be audited? Why are politicians, 2 of them today, announced they weren't going to run for re-election? Why is COVID back in the news? And RFK has said the COVID-19 vaccine ain't what people said it was.
And look,
So all of our
I want to
conspiracy
interject for a
theories are
second.
coming true. Go ahead, Ray.
I want to interject for just a second because I was just watching a news report. I think it's relatively new about the experiments that the Army did in spraying a fog in St. Louis neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods. This is
Like black
not
neighborhoods.
conspiracy, not Alex Jones stuff. I mean, and this is not the only thing. But for people who say, oh, well, that's a conspiracy theory, well, it's theory until it's actually proven fact. So in a lot of these cases, you know, Duke, your tinfoil or aluminum foil hat there, you don't really have to wear it because a lot of this stuff is true. Look, our voting systems right now in Bossier Parish in the state of Louisiana are still Dominion systems.
Correct.
And that is my point, you know, for a lot of the folks that are watching this and will watch this afterwards. You know, I think that a lot of people don't want to speak up or say anything about even this subject because they're fearful of being labeled as being a conspiracy theorist or a tinfoil hat wearing person or whatever. And that's why I interrupted you to stop this, because you were in a good flow there and you were doing it. And it was a bad time to interrupt you, but it was the perfect time, because
Absolutely.
when you're starting to be over the target, that's invariably what people say. Is they say, oh, well, you're just a conspiracy, you're a Fruit Loop or
So,
whatever.
so the president has been saying for years that our elections are rigged. Does the president have access to information that you guys and I don't have? Tulsi Gabbard has just come out in the cabinet meeting last week and said she found burn bags full of information on the 2020 election and the rigging of 2020. Did she not? Well,
Yes, she
she's the
did.
director of national intelligence. I think she has information that you guys and me don't have, right?
Yep.
Why would they say this? Why would they say this if it's a conspiracy theory? Russiagate is coming out as we speak.
Yep.
Comey, Brennan, Obama, Valerie Jarrett, you know the names, Clapper. That's a fact. We have the documents, we have the emails, we have all the evidence. And that same level of evidence, Tulsi has a report coming out around the end of this month, September. I think the 21st is the date. So when that report comes out, we will be vindicated. And then I say to our activists around the state, we win either way. If Nancy continues with this folly and actually gets the legislature to appropriate $150 million, she's going to look like a fool. If we stop her, which is what we hope, then we'll save the state a lot of trouble and a lot of money. Let me say what just happened today, and Trump warned about this last week when he talked about mail-in ballots. He specifically talked about Colorado. He said, Colorado, they got mail-in ballots and they need to clean up their act out there because they're a Dominion state too. Dominion's U.S. operations are based in Denver, corporate headquarters in Toronto. So today, I don't know if you saw it, but Trump announced that he was moving Space Force headquarters and all investment in Space Force to Huntsville, Alabama, and wait for it. The reason he said is because they have mail-in ballots in Colorado and their elections are rigged. So he's
Wow.
directly linking, go listen to what he said in his press conference. He's directly linking federal investment to the elections infrastructure in each state.
All right.
And so we know, and I got to give hats off to Chris Alexander, who got that letter from Caleb Kleinpeter, the Senate chair of Governmental Affairs Committee. Caleb sent that letter to Chris, and Chris got it to Joe Hoft, and Joe Hoft ran the letter down. We actually know whose computer it came from in the White House. We have the metadata on
Okay.
that.
Well,
We
then
have
I was
all of
correct.
that.
I was crediting Joe, but it was actually Chris who needed to be credited. Sorry about that,
Well,
Chris.
Chris and Joe and some other people that were
All right.
involved in that.
So I got a
Roger.
question here, and this one's kind of out of left field, as I guess all pun intended, or maybe right field for that matter. But we've both, or I think all three of us, have mentioned Dominion so far in this podcast because obviously, we're running, what is the state running? 30-something-year-old Dominion software or whatever in the voting machine. So there's no dispute about that. But I got to ask why Fox News and Newsmax would agree to a settlement with Dominion in the Dominion $4 trillion lawsuit or whatever they filed against Fox News, because I'm not here trying to carry the water for Fox News or Newsmax, and I am certainly no fan of Dominion. But I got to ask, all this stuff that was reported on primarily by, let's just call Fox News a right-leaning news source for purposes of this discussion, and Newsmax certainly, why would they settle to ridiculous sums of money with Dominion? Why wouldn't Rupert Murdoch fight it
That's
out?
a great question. So do you believe that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, so-called rhinos, are a uniparty, or are they really two separate parties?
Oh, no, the whole thing is one party.
Okay, that's the answer. Rupert Murdoch is a globalist. Just go check him out. Fox News, you remember the Harlem Globetrotters. They had the Washington Nationals or something was their competitor.
Right.
What we've been in is a matrix. We've been in a fake world. And Fox News is simply part of the globalist cabal that purports, just like rhinos, to represent the other party. My goodness, look at the rhinos in the Louisiana legislature who voted to create a district from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, inner city to Shreveport. Those are Republicans. Did they not do that?
Well, look,
Rupert Murdoch and
you can
Fox
look at our own
News.
Speaker of the House. Same
That's
thing,
it.
in my opinion.
De Villiers. Rupert Murdoch and Fox News are part of the cabal. And that $787 million, I think it will come out that might have come from USAID. It was fake, phony, and false. Newsmax,
Wow.
I haven't looked into that one quite yet.
Yeah, theirs is, I think, 67 million split by 20 million three
I
times,
haven't
whatever
followed
works out
that.
to.
So what we're watching right now is the president is very skillfully bringing down the globalist cabal in this country and working with others internationally. My colleague John Scanlon, former CEO and owner of ETEL, says it this way: if we fix elections, and he means that in the correct use of the term, because it could be a double entendre, right? Fix elections. That's what the other people do. If we fix elections, all the other issues go away because we have proper constitutional representatives. Right now, do you think LaToya Cantrell really got elected in New Orleans? Or some of your Bossier City cats up
There's
there?
no.
They
I
are
wouldn't.
now manipulating elections down to the local level. School boards, councils, library boards. And this software, we've asked to look at the software. We had the cybersecurity chief for ExxonMobil Worldwide, electrical engineer, who's a resident of Louisiana. And we asked Kyle Ardwan way back in late 2021 to let us look at the software with some technically qualified people. The Dominion software, no can do. Patriots like us around the country have asked to look at the software, no can do. Why? Well, we now know, and I think the public's going to learn that the base software was written by Smartmatic, funded by USAID money that went to the Bolivarian Socialist Republic of Venezuela, to a guy named Antonio Mujica, the founder and CEO of Smartmatic. And what's you're going to find out soon is all the software base code is of one source, the source code. It's all Smartmatic software. Just like General Motors had Chevy, Buick, and Oldsmobile, remember that one, and GMC, the motors were all the same. It was all a 350 General Motors V8 under the hood, 2-barrel, 4-barrel.
Well,
The same thing is true of
go ahead,
voting
Doug.
systems, which is why ES&S, which was founded by Hagel, if you remember that name, and some other guys, Hart InterCivic of Austin, Texas, and Dominion, all the base software is the same. The source code is the same, and that's why they won't let anybody look at it. Tulsi is going to break that wide open. Trust me.
good. Jerry Castellani, we're talking about Chris Alexander with LeCag. Great. He's the brother of Royal Alexander. Both Chris and Royal been on the show before. Chris they had a good show today. They had the AG, Liz Merle, on. And anyway, would have loved to have asked her some questions about Bossier and, but hey, we're talking about the Secretary of State right now and the lack of interest and inclusion of Northwest Louisiana. And Randy, you touched on it a little earlier. And actually, I had occasion to talk to somebody from South Louisiana, and I posed the question. I said, it seems to me that there's a lot of support for election integrity in Northwest Louisiana or North Louisiana generally, and a lot of opposition to machines in North Louisiana, maybe more so than anywhere else in the state of Louisiana. Do you think maybe it was intentional to hold all of these machine viewings in Baton Rouge and exclude the northern part of the state intentionally? Maybe would you take that view?
I feel, and I didn't mention from Monroe, Connie Sampanero, and there are some others on that side of North Louisiana. I failed to recognize her. I think that again, the folks in the Secretary of State's office are either incompetent, which we don't believe they are. They're corrupt. Remember, Jerry Fowler, the last elected commissioner, went to federal prison for accepting bribes from the predecessor of Dominion, Sequoia Voting Systems, federal charges of bribery, money laundering. He spent 5 years in the federal pen. So this is not a theoretical, that was a circa 2005. So corruption is not theoretical as it relates to elections. And as I mentioned right now, Smartmatic is under federal indictment, 4 executives in South Florida for bribery and money laundering. So corruption, compromise, that is, they've gotten mortgages on favorable terms. Not that anybody would ever try to do that, you understand. Or they got real estate properties given to them. That's one of the ways that they're paying off people around the country. Or they're being threatened because this elections control a $30+ trillion economy in the United States. Now, to your question about, do I think it was intentional not to come to North Louisiana? I think this is a public show. Some of our people went to the first one last week. I think a box check. I have it on fairly good authority that probably the decision has already been made on which vendor they want to select, and they're just going through the motions. And so they didn't want to waste any time going to Southwest Louisiana, which is ignored, I might add, nor did they want to waste time going to North Louisiana, which is ignored by the folks down here.
But let me interject something to address both of your points there. So I would equate this as what I call a dog and pony show. This would be the equivalent, Duke, even if they had it up here, it would be the equivalent of going to a John Deere tractor show. They're able to show how nice and shiny the tractors are, and they all have air conditioning and four-wheel drive and do all of this stuff that they can do. But do you know how much John Deere locks down their software in their tractors? And I mean, this is a massive thing. So my point is, even if they had this up here in North Louisiana, unless the code is open, all you're looking at is the shiny box and the cute
Correct.
paper or whatever, if they even have paper.
I don't disagree with that, but the point of this is the same as in the folder. I put like 6 or 7 over the past year cuts, and there was more than that off the Secretary of State's website of informational things that they're trying to put. Let's see, 22 through 20, no, through, I don't know. There's a bunch of them in there I put. Yeah, you start, keep going.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go to cut 20, I guess.
They've been trying, these, did you know? I mean, for the whole past year, she's been putting these stupid things out. They're not stupid. I shouldn't say they're stupid, but she's been putting these things out and building this thing into people's heads. So my problem
and voting
with this,
equipment programming done by certified Secretary of State staff.
yeah,
the software is proprietary by contract.
Exactly.
Rex, you know what I'm about to say.
It's like trying to work on a John Deere tractor. It is literally the same thing.
All of our early voting computers, the touch screens that are in the registrar's offices, those are all current Dell touch screens with running Windows, right? Windows, whatever, Windows 7. They're running Windows 7. So those are current Dell touchscreens. All the software in there is Dominion proprietary software. We asked this question of Kyle Ardoin and his technical staff in a conference call in late 2022, December 9th. I remember it like it was yesterday. Who programs the software for early voting systems? Long pause from his technical staff. Answer: Dominion Voting Systems. Who programs your EMS, the servers that accumulate all the data? Long pause. Dominion Voting System, because it's a Dominion election management system. Who maintains the 30-year-old Sequoia systems? Dominion Voting Systems. They don't program squat except for laying out the ballots for each parish. Yeah. That's what they call that program. This is the height of deception.
Exactly.
It makes it seem like they wrote the code. Rex, they didn't write no
code. They're not writing jack
like
crap.
The farmer don't write no code in the John Deere, and you guys don't write no code in your GMC Sierra pickup truck that runs the computer in that thing.
And Rex, you're right. You're right. Had they showed up here in Bossier with all these machines on all these dates for all of us to look at them, I'd be like, yeah, those are nice and pretty and all that. And it wouldn't mean squat. You're right. It wouldn't mean squat. But here's the point. The point is they have had this campaign to inform the public that they are being transparent. And just like what Randy said, they're doing this thing down here, checking a box to show and be able to say that we've been transparent, when all the while they're not being transparent. This whole thing is not transparent.
It's disinformation, misinformation.
Correct.
But I gotta be a smart ass. Hold
it. No, Rex, I've been holding this one now for y'all. I've been holding this one for all of y'all, which the majority of y'all are from Bossier. And Rex, you'll remember this, but we had a mayor council election in Bossier Parish here not too long ago. Some of y'all may have forgotten about it. but we had one race in one council district that had a difference of 36 votes. And if you recall, the election before the last race that was before that race, maybe it was two, there was a recount and the votes were actually flipped and the outcome of the race changed. So in this race here, this last time, not the candidate, but the Bossier Parish Republican Executive Committee submitted a public information request for the cast vote records of that race. Randy, would you like to guess? You're not from Bossier, but I think all the rest of the people in Bossier are going to know the answer the same as well. Would y'all like to know how the progress is on that public information request for the cast vote records for that election?
They ain't giving it to you.
Are you holding your breath, Mr. Lowry?
No, but my point is for all of you watching, if you think the Secretary of State's office and Nancy Landry or this election process, there's anything transparent about it, then you please explain to me why they won't give me the cast vote records, or the Republican Party of Bossier Parish, which represents all of y'all. Why would they not give it to us?
Oh, but
Randy,
Duke,
go ahead.
didn't you know, Duke? I'm reading right here, this slide up in the upper right corner. Louisiana's voting equipment is tested and sealed with a tamper evidence seal in a public meeting before every election. That makes me feel secure.
Okay,
Nancy,
dude,
here's
the answer to your. Here's the answer.
Hold that one, Randy. Hold that one, Randy.
Do you know who Nancy Pelosi is?
I do. Her last name ends with Merle, but Nancy Landry. Take a note from Merle.
The county of San Francisco posts their cast vote records publicly on their website. That's San Francisco. There are many counties. We've gotten them and we've reviewed them from many counties around the country that are publicly posted. You can go there right now, and I assure you that the county of San Francisco has the cast vote records available for public inspection for the 2024 election.
Are they using automated systems, or are they using strictly paper ballots?
They're using voting machines. I think San Francisco is a Dominion place. The county of Los Angeles is a Smartmatic county. In most jurisdictions, the county picks the election equipment. Texas, for example. Louisiana is one of the few states that's top down, that the Secretary of State controls everything. In most states, they give a list of approved certified vendors, and the county commission makes the selection of what equipment or method they use. In many counties in Texas that are small, they've been hand counting for since 1836, because it just doesn't make sense to spend the money. So, Duke, the fact that they're not giving those records tells you something. We asked for the cast vote records for the 2020 presidential, and they gave us a bill for $300,000 to purchase those cast votes.
So I want to be clear and remind everybody, and so Duke and Randy, y'all can stop me or correct me because I'm saying this off the cuff, but what we're basically talking about here is, if let's say in Ruth Pope's election against Maggio, Maggio won by 38 votes. Let's say she had actually challenged that. The problem is, and this is no slight to the registrar of voters in Bossier Parish, because she actually can't do that. You can't do a complete recount. The only thing that can be recounted is the mail-in ballots and the early ballots. The rest of it is printed tapes off of the machine. So there is no way to do a true recount for those of you that are listening.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Rex. So the question is, why doesn't the Secretary of State even do an audit of the paper that they do have? So the paper ballots, we do have paper ballots in Louisiana. They're called absentee ballots. They come in the mail, right? So what happens to those is those are commingled with the early vote. Now, if you're in business, anytime you see commingling of funds or accounts, it's a symptom of potential fraud. So the question is, why hasn't the Secretary of State ever, and I'm not just picking on Nancy, why hasn't Nancy, Kyle, Fox McKithen, why hasn't anybody audited the paper that we do have? And I can tell you none of them have done it. In fact, they've commingled it, mixed it with the early voting, which is on the Dominion touchscreen right now.
All right.
So let me
So
go back to the cast vote records. What the cast vote records is basically a time sequence of when the vote was cast and for whom the vote was cast. What is happening inside the software is basically a set point control, a PID, an algorithm that drives to a certain outcome. And you can see that votes come in randomly throughout the day in a normal election like this. Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden. When you have an algorithm working in the software, you see a set point, and the set point is usually a 51-49-ish set point where you see, and this is the F curve, that famous F curve you've seen about 2020, where Trump is like this and Biden is like this, and then all of a sudden, after 10:30, Biden goes toop, and then Biden wins. So the importance of y'all, Duke, asking for the cast vote records is it would show you if an algorithm was operating that was driving one of those candidates to a certain set point to win. And they're doing this at local levels now to control city councils, parish governments, library boards, and they don't even have to interview the candidate. Guess how they pick the candidate that they want to win? It's going to blow your mind.
I want to hear this.
Okay, let's say you want to take over a library board and you want some wokesters that are that want what's the story hour?
Trans
Drag
books.
queen. You want to have a board which will affirm drag queen story hours.
Yeah, there
You
you go.
don't have to meet them. You don't have to interview them.
Now, wait a minute.
You
You're not
go
fixing to
on
talk
there.
about the Bossier Parish Police Jury or nothing, are you?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
from South
Go ahead.
Louisiana. We
All right.
we
Go
ignore you
ahead.
guys up
Go
there.
ahead.
We don't
Go
know
ahead.
what's
Yeah.
going on in
I
Bossier.
just want to make sure because I was going to have to stop
Although
you.
the hayride has some fun with you guys from time to time.
Go ahead.
So all you have to do is you have to go on their social media, look to see if they're bald and they're, my skin color with, closely cropped hair, or if their hair is blue and green and yellow and they have piercings everywhere. And what they talk about is the subject matter that you want the library board to vote on, right? So you then put that candidate into the algorithm and they actually think that they won. So then they're emboldened thinking, well, I won. They don't even know that there's an algorithm in there. Got it?
all right. So
Get your tin hat out, dude.
I'm sorry. So during the show, people message me and stuff, right? So some guy is, and I'm not going to say his name. He's literally on the freaking beach with his laptop with all of us up on the screen watching us from the beach somewhere in Florida. So
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this, that we're sitting here talking about election integrity. And there's
Oh
somebody
man.
on the beach in Florida watching us.
Oh, I love you, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry, squirrel.
All right, so I do want to put up a comment real quick, and let me do this, and it might kind of cover you up for just a second there, Randy. Let me slide that over. Miss Ruth wants to remind us, and she was one of the candidates that we were talking about in this city council race. She said the paper ballots on my case were less than 15% of total ballots. Please remind everyone for a paper recount, the candidate must pay a lot considering it was 15% for any challenge like stopping a certification to allow for a look at irregularities. The candidate must pay a lot.
Yeah, and Miss Ruth, that is such an important, that's another barrier to transparency because they don't want you looking at those ballots. They don't want you looking at them. That's why they don't want us looking at cast vote records. That's why the Secretary of State office for us to get all parishes 2020 presidential election cast vote records, we got a bill for over $300,000. Now, what citizen group can afford that? And same thing for Miss Ruth, the candidate. You know, you don't have the money laying around to pay for that. Plus, there's a 10-day window that you have to challenge. So everything is set up to hide a review of the results. And that's why our Louisiana two-step hand counting system resolves all of these problems with Louisiana citizens. And we
So
developed this starting in 2022. We work with our friends in Florida, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas. All of us have been innovating how to do proper hand counting to have reliable, transparent, accurate, and timely auditable results so that Miss Ruth could actually have her team recount the ballots if they wanted to with hand
so
marked paper ballots.
so what you're talking about is I think that's the video that you sent, right? It
It
actually
is.
shows how a process would work, and it shows something that I think has been put in effect and has worked in some places already.
It's working
Uh,
in Missouri and it's working in Arkansas. It's also working in Texas. And most folks don't know in New England, many of those small states up there and small counties, they've been hand counting for 300 years.
wow.
They never had machines.
All right, so I asked you this the last time we had you on, I think, or asked you something similar, Randy, and I'm putting a link to that video in the comments. We'll post it on Bossier Watch's Facebook and all that too. But give us a quick rundown, just a brief summary. You don't have to go completely in depth of how a hand count system would work. And let me give you my perspective. My perspective,
Mm-hmm.
when I hear hand count, I think of 2000 and Hanging Chad in Florida. All right, so give us the short summary
Yeah,
version of
so
how it
so
works.
the front end of the process works just like it does now. You have a paper poll book, you come into the school or the auditorium, whatever, fire station, you show your ID. We require now proof of citizenship, although that rule hasn't been rolled out yet by the Secretary of State. Show your ID, you sign the poll book. The president is advocating one-day voting, by the way, for federal elections with very limited early voting. So you show up, you sign the poll book, they call your name out, they give you the ballot. The ballots are secure, watermarked paper ballots that have inventory control and chain of custody. Inventory control is common in all businesses. I
Yep.
worked in multiple businesses in my 30-year career. You control your inventory, you count it, so you have a stack of ballots that are authorized for that precinct. Louisiana is blessed with small precincts. Our average precinct is 750 folks. which compared to states like Arizona, which has mega precincts, we're in good shape. We have over 3,000 precincts in Louisiana, 3,923, the last count I had. So a small precinct, typical turnout, let's just use 50%. You have 375 ballots that are completed. The ballots that are not used are part of the inventory, so those have to be retained and counted and put into a packet to go back to the clerk's office. The voter goes behind a little cardboard barrier with an ink pen, blue or black, bubbles in the choices that they make, and then they put that into a ballot box. That ballot box can be opened starting, let's say, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. While people are still voting, you take out 50 ballots and you begin to hand count those. How does that happen? So the counting begins before the polls close in a sequestered room, hopefully with local law enforcement guarding the facility and possibly the National Guard, but that's a story for another day. You have a team of 4 people, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, or a Republican, 2 Republicans, an independent, and a Democrat, some combination of different. You have a stack of 50 ballots that are inventory controlled. You have one person, Republican, looking at that ballot and calling out the number of the candidate. On the other, and the Democrat is looking at what you called. So we have a ballot, and let's say Duke is running for dog catcher, and Duke is candidate number 3. And this is the first vote for Duke. It would be candidate 3, 1. The team on the other side has the count sheet. Do you know about baseball pitch count sheets? The pitch count sheet goes from left to right. So candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you don't call out the name, you call out the number. So the recorder, what we call a tallier, says 3, which is Duke's number, 1, because it's the first vote for Duke. Then you go down that ballot. We believe that, and we think this is going to happen for the midterms, federal elections will be conducted by themselves. Our ballots are way too complicated and they have too many issues on them, and the dog catcher doesn't get proper respect, dog catcher candidate. Because if you have a dog catcher on a presidential ballot, which has 30 different races and things on it, we believe that you should have federal only, holiday on Tuesday, November, whatever it is, second Tuesday in November, federal holiday, federal only election. Think about it. That ballot will have 1 senator and 1 representative, right? How long would it take to count that ballot?
Not long. Not
Not
long at
long.
all.
Statewide and state representatives and senators should be a separate election, and we believe that parishes should conduct their own elections for local matters. The Secretary of State does not need to be involved other than to be informed of the results of those elections. So we think splitting into 3 different elections allows proper focus and knowledge and education of the voters and respect for the candidates who have taken their time to run. So let me go back to the count. So you have 2 callers and 2 talliers. The talliers record on the pitch count sheet, each of them recording their own sheet. The pitch count bubbles, and you'll see this in the video, already have the numbers in them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 50 votes. So it's self-adding. You don't add anything up. And the talliers, and you'll see this in the video, compare their sheets and all the counts should match. If they don't match, then you go back through the batch. So we have calculated using motion and time study. I'm an industrial engineer by training at LSU. We've done motion and time studies. We can count an average current ballot, presidential ballot with a bunch of races on it in about 4 hours with 4 people in an average precinct. So if you start counting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in every precinct, by 8 o'clock, all you have to count is the few ballots that came in at the end of the night. And so you're done. And the certification is by Randy Russ, Leroy Johnson, Jane Smith. You know who counted your ballots. So who was the candidate that you just showed her?
Ruth Johnson.
Miss Ruth. Miss Ruth can go talk to Randy, Leroy, Jane, and the other person on the team. And our signatures are on there. It's not in Baton Rouge. It's local folks counting the candidates, these ballots. So there's high level of transparency. You'll see in the video that there's video cameras on both the callers and on the talliers. And so that can be live streamed. It can be recorded, so anybody can go back and look at it.
All right.
Also, let me say this: the ballots would be uploaded, as there are in some jurisdictions now, to the internet. So Miss Ruth could go recount with her team her whole election herself for free. Don't have to ask anybody for it. So once the certification is done in the precinct, when those ballots go under chain of custody with the sheriff's deputy to the clerk of court, those ballots are scanned in not for tabulation, but for preservation and public display. So anybody who wants to do a recount, you don't have to call Nancy Landry, you don't have to spend any money. You get your team, you go look at those ballots, and you count them.
All right, so I'm on board with virtually all of that. I've got one knee-jerk reaction to it that I thought of off the top of my head, and I only know this from being on the board of election supervisors for a couple of years and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to require, so if you need 4 people per precinct, right, we have a difficult enough time getting people to be precinct captains and precinct workers and poll workers and all that. And unfortunately, some of them are much older than we all are.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Pick
okay.
me.
Okay,
Pick
hold
me.
on. So how do we solve that potential problem?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we get, a lot. Nationally, if you look at Rasmussen polling, which is one of the more credible polling outfits, if they recently did a poll asking that question, would you volunteer to count votes on election day in a local school or library? Would you be willing? And the number is about 60% of people are willing to do it. When people realize, people are now learning, and I'm going to use COVID, or I'm going to use autism. RFK Jr. is already telegraphing that vaccines are implicated in causing autism. Y'all know that.
Yep.
Once people believe that, they're going to be mad as hell, particularly if they have an autistic child, that the healthcare community did this to their kid to make money by selling vaccines. And the vaccines don't work, as we know.
And
the
look,
same thing is happening with elections. Trump is out there saying what he's saying. Duke did a great job. People are going to be incensed when they figure out that the people on the library board, the school board, the people in your council and your city government, none of them were fairly elected. Not to mention their legislators, their governor, secretary of state, none of them were fairly elected. And they're going to be ticked off and they're going to say, we want to get involved in this. And so if you simplify it and you separate out federal, state level, and local, we think that there'll be an excitement that people take back control of their government again. Because when Russiagate's out, when those indictments come, which they're coming, it's going to make people mad. Then when you figure out that your autistic child or grandchild is the result of corruption in the healthcare system, you're going to be mad as heck. Then when you figure out that the child traffickers and pornographers are doing what they're doing, they're being covered by the legal system, you're going to be mad. And then when you find out that your election systems have been corrupted, you're going to want to get involved. That's our
earlier Jerry Castellani, she made a post. She said when we were talking about, the same disinformation suggestion is why citizens disengage from local, if not state, if not federal politics. That was a comment that she made. Well, it's the same thing to this. I think it needs to be that it's just like jury duty. People have their names in the hat and they go and serve to count votes just like jury duty.
Correct.
And to Jerry and to that point, it's not now. This isn't the point where somebody becomes disengaged. This is where people need to start leaning in as you learn more about what your government has done and what on all fronts, from COVID to vaccines to elections. You just regular people, this is where you need to start leaning in more. You don't back away and just disengage and be mad and take your football and go home. This is where you step up. This is where you become more involved. You show up to more meetings. And a lot of you are doing that. I see it more and more in Bossier every day. But, helping, like Rex and I, we try to go to every meeting. We try to cover different things. More people are covering different things happening, like in the city limits of Benton. Chris Redford is getting on top of things regarding their water billing in the city of Benton. I mean, those little things together, all of us combined, that helps us to be able to change everything overall in the big picture. It may seem minute, but those little things, it all compounds. Isn't that right, Randy?
And Duke, you're absolutely right, Duke. And one of the things I can say is because of the work of you guys and other people in Northwest Louisiana and around the state, we have a seat at the table of this administration. And so, this administration pays careful attention to grassroots. And I could give you examples of that. The way that we were able to find out who wrote that letter that Nancy had is because we have a seat at the table in this administration. And so each effort in Benton and in Bossier and in Caddo and all around the state, this administration is for the working people. And is for those of us that have been involved for 5 years or more in this effort to expose the corruption and the things that are going on. Not that you have any corruption in Bossier, you understand, because y'all are in Baptist North Louisiana. It's only in Catholic South Louisiana that we have corruption problems, you understand?
Yeah, we won't talk about parking lots yet, but there's the whole other subject.
You don't need a parking lot, by the way, do you, Randy?
We give away free parking lots up here if you're.
Yeah, well, I heard y'all have some empty retail space. Is that in Bossier or Caddo?
Both.
Both, yeah. But right now, the big thing is giving away free parking lots. So, I mean, if you're in the market for a parking lot, we can hook you up.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
so
Well,
a date to watch is September 21st. Tulsi's report on election shenanigans is due, and the president, he's playing hardball with this, and so he's not going to give up, and so we're excited. We're very optimistic that his policies will be implemented. There's a bill in Congress now, two of them. Abe Hamadeh has one, and Abe Hamadeh of Arizona and Pete Sessions from Texas have bills that mirror the president's executive order. And so we'll see, what happens with those. But we're very optimistic and encouraged that we'll get our elections back under local control.
could be very interesting. Interesting times we are living in.
Awesome. Well, Randy, appreciate it immensely for, enlightening us with your knowledge and talking about that there is an alternative method for us to utilize in our elections that is proven. So if any of you hear that there's not something other than machines that is effective, proven, and works, that provides auditable, transparent elections, that's just false, and feel confident in arguing that. And if any of you want to have a longer discussion with Randy, I'm certain that he would love to have a chat and explain it to you more in detail, and we'll have him on again in the future. But there are, we don't have to cook this goose one way. There's other ways to cook this goose, and it doesn't have to be a machine cooking it.
And as the president said to Jeff Landry in the press conference on Hyundai Steel coming to Ascension, in the middle of that press conference, the president turned to Jeff Landry and said, you could save a lot of money by using paper ballots. 8% of what those machines cost. Did y'all see that?
Did he really?
He did. That was about a month ago. We may have had something to do with that.
I gotta go find that.
Find it. Hyundai Steel, Jeff Landry and De Villiers and Cameron were there, and right in the middle of it, Trump turned to Jeff and let him have it about paper ballots and saving money.
Wow.
When I said we have a seat at the table, gentlemen, I mean we have a seat at the table.
Hey, one more question for you real quick,
Sure.
Randy. Miss Jerry's asking, she says, how, this Miss Jerry Castellani from up there around Benton anyway, she says, how do we get a hold of Randy Rust? Post it here, please. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way to do that? Do you have an email address or website or social media presence or anything?
I'm not really social. I'm not on social media. You could feel for Miss Jerry, you could give her my phone number. Also, I would refer, We the People Northwest Louisiana, we've worked closely with them. Candy Peavy, Adele Schifferman,
Brenda O'Brock.
Susan, Brenda O'Brock, Susan Bairnsfather. They're all up to speed on this. And they're a great resource. But I'm happy to talk to any of your listeners and and just answer their questions. Also, look at the video that y'all are going to post, and that should answer a lot of questions about hand counting that they would have. So,
okay,
Miss Jerry, call me.
Yeah, we'll let Duke handle the exchange there because he knows Miss Jerry.
I'll feel that. If y'all want to reach out to Randy, hit me up. I'll get you in touch.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mr. Randy, until next time, let's hope for better election integrity.
Amen. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Randy.
See you later. All right.
Randy is, I'm telling you, that guy is top shelf. I just, first time I ever talked to him, I knew I was the peon in the conversation. No doubt. I knew my place.
Well, the more I honestly, the more I look into this, I'm Mr. Automation and all that sort of thing too. But the more I look into this, and I'm going to pay close attention to that Rumble video. I put it in the comments, but I'll share it out on the Facebook page too. I'm very intrigued by it, and I definitely see the validity into it. So
I mean, look, here's the thing. You and I are friends, and I can say this because you understand what I'm trying to say here. I mean, and look, I respect you. You're a smart guy. You're a tech guy. But and I know that you're not a cheater. You're not, but if you had that streak in you that you didn't care that you would cheat to win, you know, I wouldn't be able to see it. I wouldn't know. You would be able to do it and I wouldn't know. And here we are. I'm supposed to trust if we're doing elections and you were doing the elections and you had that streak in you, I'm supposed to trust you. I
yeah.
mean, one, I'm
Well,
not going to, I wouldn't have no way to know that you had that streak in you, but I'm supposed to just completely put 100% faith in you. And there's no way to know whether or not you have that streak or not. But there is a way that I could take that part of the question or the equation out and we won't even talk about it. It's not even a part of the conversation. It can't, I mean, it is now because of Donald Trump.
well,
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
it's mutually assured trust in this case. And what I mean by that is, you're right. You and I know each other, and we would have a relative amount of trust. But just because somebody is a government official and they are in charge of maintaining elections or whatever their title is, doesn't mean that we need to trust them. I mean, again, just look at the recent revelations about the whole fog in St. Louis deal, and that's just a drop in the bucket. So the point is, you're right, we shouldn't have to worry about the trust because if you follow a certain auditable trail, the trust doesn't even become an issue because you got the facts right there in front of you, period.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. We should seek to have a process that takes any question mark out of it.
Right.
And to where we can answer any question mark that is in the system. And when you put up roadblocks to prevent you from addressing those questions, there's where you got problems.
Yeah, there's where you got problems. So, yeah, very interesting discussion. All right, so it's about 8:27, so I don't want to spend too much time on our next topic again. And I say again because this is not the first time that we've talked about Tommy flaunting the law again and or his administration, and it's not the first time that we've mentioned Tommy and the word Tahoe in the same sentence.
No, it's not. And interestingly, and I don't even remember the show, but I do know, and we could go back and find it, but there is a show where we talked about Tahoes and Tommy and markings on the Tahoes. I mean, in
Look,
fact, it
it's
wasn't this
multiple shows.
it wasn't this council. It was the previous council that actually were the first ones to fire a shot at the administration over the lack of markings on city vehicles.
Yeah, and so all you have to do, folks, if you want to, and I'm going to switch screens here, but all you have to do is go back to, I think I had it marked in the notes here. Yeah, start around show 31, Mr. Lowry, which was way back in 2021. Was about, I think, the first time we really dove into the whole Tommy and the Tahoe deal. And the reason I'm mentioning Tommy and the Tahoe deal, I'm going to drag this screenshot over here. We posted this on the Bossier Watch Facebook page. This is a copy of a letter sent from Chris Smith to the mayor, Tommy Chandler. Tommy's reply, and then, and look, full credit and great work by Wes Marriott from Sobo Live for sticking to this. And looky there, Mr. Lowry. I mean, I'm sorry for that expression for anybody who sees this right now. But look at Tommy's response to Chris. I mean, that's basically what he's doing, giving him the middle finger. So let me explain. Let me summarize this.
He's saying Chris is number one. I get it. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So the letter from Chris to Tommy is basically spelling out the Louisiana Revised Statute, which I think is 49:121, Section F or whatever. But anyway, about the way that the vehicles need to be marked, government-owned vehicles. And Tommy replied back and said, oh, blah, 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 blah. These vehicles are in compliance with the law. Now, specifically in the statute, and I've got a copy of the statute, specifically in the statute, it says that they have to be contrasting colors. Now, I don't know why Tommy is not proud of being from Bossier City. I don't know. Maybe he's ashamed. I don't know what his deal is, but why is he trying to hide the fact that he's from Bossier City and a government official and the mayor? I mean, he loves taking selfies anyway. Why is he trying to hide that with white decals or white vinyl lettering on a white vehicle? Does he not know what the word contrast means?
I don't know, but is that on the fender or is that on the door? I mean, because
I think it's on like the door, I think.
Well,
that looks like the front.
Well, doesn't the statute say that your identification has to be on the door, not the fender?
Well, let's see. Here's the statute now.
I hate to be splitting hairs and all, but I mean, it even says, I think it says it's supposed to be on the door.
It does. It spells all that out. And the only exceptions are basically for law enforcement, if it's an undercover cop car or something like that, where it may interfere with that specific law enforcement work. That's the only real exception that's allowed. There's no exception for the mayor. He's not an emergency person. There's no exception for the CAO. There's not really an exception for fire personnel either. I mean, it's not like we have undercover firemen. I don't think that's even a thing. So it's pretty crystal clear, and I just don't understand what Tommy's problem with being able to read and comprehend and follow such a simple law. I mean, this is just stupid. Did you know that there are reports, sources say, I can just see him in his driveway with a heat gun peeling decals off of the vehicle. So, sources have claimed that he has actually removed some of the decals from the city-owned vehicles because he has a problem, apparently, when he goes out in public. I just don't get this. He likes to take selfies with every damn body he comes across. All right, so I want to remind everybody, this is from way back in 2021. And look, I made the offer then, and it still stands now. Tommy, I'll pay out of my pocket personally to have your city-owned Tahoe wrapped just like this. We'll have the Bossier Watch logo in there, and you can let everybody know that your selfies are $5 a piece if you want to take a selfie with the mayor. So this is dredging up 2021. Again, this is not the first time we have talked about Tahoe Tommy.
I don't know what to say about that. Was I on that show? I don't remember that.
You were, and I have video proof of it too. We probably won't play the whole video, but
I don't know, but threats against the press. Well, wait a minute. I thought at some point, okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
All right.
I thought at some point Tommy said, or maybe it was Richard Ray or Jacobs or somebody made the assertion that, well, there was some threat against Tommy, or there was some threat against the mayor as a result.
What? Somebody threatened not to take a selfie with him?
Oh no! something regarding something that was going on within the city, or that
did somebody get offended by that? Did somebody get offended by a swingers comment down there at the what was that? Chasing Aces foreplay thing?
I don't know what you're talking about there. I don't know where this show is
I'm
going.
stating facts. I've got the video.
It is on the fast track to a clogged up gutter in Bossier City on Benton Road or Airline Drive or Barksdale Boulevard. One of the three.
Well, here's the worst part of this. So apparently Tommy got his panties in a wad. Pardon the phrase, ladies. Because according to Wes Marriott, go ahead.
Does this have something to do with swinger something or another? Or is that where you're going with this?
Who knows with Tommy? But according to Wes Marriott, on August the 21st, Tommy escalated matters further by threatening to sue Sobo Live for defamation over its coverage of the scandal. I mean, what's he going to do? Is Tommy going to sue the legislature down in Baton Rouge for making the law and coming up with the statute? Is he going to sue his assistant city attorney, Richard Ray, who doesn't keep emails and also apparently can't read a simple statute and interpret how you're supposed to wrap or put lettering on a vehicle? I mean, who exactly is Tommy going to sue?
So wait a minute. Let me get this straight. You're telling me that somehow or another, Wes Marriott and Sobo Live are being threatened or got threatened by the mayor in some way, shape, form, or fashion about his reporting about Tommy failures in adequately marking his vehicle so that the public could recognize that it was a city-owned vehicle out and about amongst the city?
Yes, to summarize it, I think you're correct. Look, here's the deal. Maybe Tommy's worried about paparazzi. I mean, I'm sure if he goes to the grocery store or something like that, as soon as he steps out of his vehicle, throngs of Bossier citizens just race to him to take those damn selfies with him. And maybe that's what he's concerned about. Maybe it truly is a safety thing. I don't know. Tommy, you're more than welcome. You have an open invitation to come on the show. We will shut up and give you the mic and let you explain all of this. That's all you have to do. I'll keep my snide comments to a bare minimum, Tommy. If you just come, and don't send Lewis either. We like Lewis a lot. Lewis is a straight up guy, but don't send Lewis because we want the sound bites from you, Tommy. Come on here. You got some splaining to do.
My wife sent a message and there's 100 of y'all watching, and what she wants you to know is that you could understand me better if I weren't chomping on food like a drunken whore, is actually what she said.
Wow. Well, here's the thing.
That's what she said.
This show is a partnership, and if folks don't like it, they can scroll on by. If they don't like your chowing down on chips or whatever you're eating. You're making me hungry, by the way.
While everyone else has had supper already, I ain't had supper yet.
That's right. All right. So I'm going to give Tommy some advice. There are 3 court cases he needs to have his incompetent legal team look up. New York Times versus Sullivan, which was in 1964. Curtis Publishing versus Butts in 1967, and Hustler Magazine, of all things, versus Jerry Falwell in 1988. Those are all SCOTUS decisions. Look them up, Tommy, before you threaten to intimidate anybody.
But you left out one case.
Uh-oh, which one?
Under the Grandstands by Seymour Butts.
Well, that's like the Yellow River by I.P. Freely.
Where has this show gone? Where is this?
It is devolving quickly. All right, so I'm not going to rant and rave too much more about Tommy. But
Tommy the Chandler, after Tommy got elected, look, I paid him a courtesy call. And it was to a subject matter that it wasn't something that needed to be out there in the public, and he needed to know, and I shared the information with him. And during the conversation, he says to me, he says, well, Well, you didn't even support me. Well, no, I didn't. And I didn't support your opponent either. I didn't support nobody. I was nowhere. I did nothing. I didn't support anybody. But he was like mad or whatever. I don't understand because I think he's taking bad advice and I think he's being steered on so many issues. And just like this Tahoe thing, that's just black and white. I mean, freaking put the stamp on your door and be proud of it. You're the freaking mayor. Own it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole point. And look, Tommy, all you got to do is come on the show and explain it. We'll even allow you to pre-record it and send us the video. You don't even have to come on live.
Who in Bossier wants our mayor and wants our city to fail? I don't.
No, hell, we carried the water for Tommy for the first couple of months of his after his election on the show. I mean, I literally got tired of carrying the 5-gallon bucket around.
I mean, we could rip his, pardon my French, ass every week, but we don't. I mean, we want our mayor to succeed and we want our city to succeed. But good grief, this stupid crap.
Quit doing dumb stuff.
It's got to end.
If you don't, Tommy, if you don't want us, or I'm not speaking for Wes because he is obviously well spoken for himself, but I'm sure Wes would probably agree. Don't do dumb stuff and you don't give us anything to talk about. Tahoes, decals, free parking lots, that all falls under the heading of dumb stuff, Tommy. Quit doing it.
Yeah, I mean, just get a grip. I mean, and I don't know who you're taking advice from, but you need to reconsider whoever the hell you're listening to. Hey, on another note, I sent you a couple of screenshots.
Oh,
something
yeah.
as we're closing out. Something I'm kind of proud of. And
you should be. You and Miss Kara both.
As a lot of y'all know, my political awakening, right? So I didn't give a care about politics. That was nothing. But when I became a public servant, it's impossible to be a public servant and not get wound up into politics. Well, I was a firefighter for 20 years. Well, my son, Alex, it was his choice. He chose to follow in the profession that I retired from as a professional firefighter. And Chief J.T. Wallace with the Benton Fire Department gave him an opportunity, put him through the training academy, and he graduated from the academy as a firefighter last week. And there were some photos of the ceremony. And, JT Wallace, I can't say enough about him. A lot of y'all may not know him and may not appreciate him. I mean, he's been a fire chief for Bossier City and Benton for, I think he's got over 50 something years as just a fire chief alone, right? With that said, he was a fireman's fire chief, and to firemen that means something. But when in Bossier City, when politics came across, and like for an example, the city of Bossier City tried to do mandatory overtime on firemen when it was a time when it wasn't because of an emergency. In the case of an emergency, if there had been a tornado or a flood and firemen or policemen were made to have to work overtime, they were never, nobody's ever in emergency as a fireman or policeman made. You just do it. But in the case of Bossier City, they were, as a practice of management, running staffing low and, were mandating that firemen work overtime to fill in short staffing, which was a choice by city government because they didn't want to hire any more firemen and they wanted to run the staff low. Chief Wallace took the position and he said, I refuse to do it. And he stood up for the firemen, he said, it's not right. We shouldn't be doing it. And within just a short period of time, he was out as the fire chief in Bossier City. He went to Benton, became the fire chief of Benton, and he's been there ever since. And I'm proud to say that they, gave my son an opportunity, and he is a firefighter in Benton, and couldn't be prouder.
Well, congratulations to both of y'all as proud parents, and also congratulations to Alex. I am sure he will follow in your footsteps and make a fine firefighter.
Yep. Well, that's all I have, Rex, and appreciate all of y'all for paying attention to this show and, leaning in. Sometimes you have to make the decision when you feel like you need to be backing away. That's when you actually need to be leaning in and pushing forward. It's when things are the toughest is when you actually make, positive consequential gains and change. So if it gets tough, just lean in a little further and a little harder.
I couldn't say it any better. I think I'm going to follow your advice and lean into hitting this finish button. And we're out of here until next week. See y'all later, folks.